Good evening, you're watching News Mongolia on MNB World. I'm your host, Tamer Gambatar. And for top stories, 519 new confirmed cases and 8 additional deaths reported on Thursday. About 60% of the technical and vocational education centers graduates get jobs right after graduation. 19,000 people who are living with disabilities are employed in Mongolia. And for the news, stay tuned. The Ministry of Health reported that 519 new COVID-19 cases were confirmed nationwide in the past 24 hours and 8 more people have died.
As of today, 519 new cases were confirmed after over 8,000 people were tested nationwide. 805 patients have recovered, including 374 patients who are being treated at hospitals and 431 people being treated at home. Unfortunately, 8 more people between the ages of 24 to 92 died due to COVID-19 complications within the past 24 hours. Of today's new cases, 513 cases are of domestic transmission and 5 were acquired from hospitals, and 1 imported case was detected after retests taken from people who came to Mongolia from the Republic of India on April 26th and is now isolated in Darnagov province. 461 cases were confirmed in Ulaanbaatar and 52 were confirmed in the provinces. Among the 3,896 COVID-19 patients being treated at over 50 hospitals nationwide, 48.9% are showing mild symptoms of illness and 110 are in critical condition. Additionally, 2,075 patients are being treated at home.
In Mongolia, the occupation of civil engineer is in the highest demand. Studies show that this occupation will be in demand for the next 20 years. Let's take a look at our next report on the employment rate among technical and vocational education centers graduates.
Choosing and specializing in the most demanded vocations in the labor market has allowed us to choose from ample job opportunities with sufficient salaries, said civil engineer Jargal Surung, who has been working in his specialized area since 2009.
Graduates from technical and vocational education training centers are ready to work in every sector of the country's infrastructure development, where the demand for workers is high. So many of the TVET graduates are proud of their occupations. In order to develop the education system, consecutive actions should be taken, namely training and developing students from a young age. That way, more and more specialists who are able to take part in the major development projects will be prepared.
According to studies of the labor market, the vocations of civil engineer, construction finishing worker, welder, and tailor will be in the highest demand over the next 10 years. Around 30% of the TVET students secured a job before graduation, and about 70% of the graduates are able to work in their specified areas. Employers are more interested in hiring engineers who specialized in particular fields and graduated from TVET rather than engineers prepared at universities, because the latter have done fewer field training.
After graduating as a plumbing engineer, one will have to know all stages of the plumbing process, from groundwork to connecting pipes. Therefore, at the technical and vocational education and training centers, students get trained starting from basic plumbing all the way up to engineering. These kinds of graduates do not turn down jobs. They don't sit at their desks claiming they should only do engineering work. They don't avoid work, even the groundwork. That's why in the labor market, graduates from those schools are the ones who appeal to employers the most.
In other words, students who choose TVET get a scholarship of 200,000 Mongolian Tigriks every month. Also, the government is collaborating with foreign colleges on promoting the students. However, the country still lacks a technical workforce.
20,000 students enroll in TVET each year. The graduates who get employed right after graduation make up 55%. Apart from that, of course, lots of graduates still find jobs after graduation.
Over 70% of the students enroll into universities after finishing secondary education, but the survey shows that only 50% of university graduates work in their respective fields. Education researchers advise young individuals to study the needs and demands of the labor market before making the most important decision of their lives.
In Mongolia, private sector companies have lately been getting interested in hiring people living with disabilities. For example, Denge.mn, a workplace platform, has created a special option for people living with different disabilities and has posted 17 jobs. Those who are looking for such job can visit their portal and gain employment.
This young man's name is Muhtur. He is a financial economist. He has been working as a credit officer for a private non-banking financial institution for 3 years. He had previously worked for a government agency but joined his current company because of his interests in economics and the stock market. He said that in 2019 he applied for a job through an online service and was accepted.
In general, a job seeker can visit the website of an organization they want to apply to and look for open vacancies. I think the time when you wait for someone to offer you a job vacancy is over. Society is becoming more open and tolerant, so there are many more job opportunities. The most important requirement is to have the necessary skills. If you meet the requirements, you can easily get hired.
Muhtur and his colleagues are some of the examples of the workplace and job market evolution that allows people living with different disabilities to be actively engaged in the labor market.
Since the term people with disabilities is widely used, we want to convey a message to society that there is still potential and opportunity for us to develop.
I would like to say that if given the chance and support, people living with disabilities can be equally productive and competent like any other person active in the labor market.
If I'm allowed to work with a screen reader, and if I will have a more friendly and accessible living environment, I can practically engage in social life and activities without any restrictions.
People living with disabilities like Muhtur make up about 3.3% of our population, and out of the more than 42,000 people of working age, 21% are currently employed. The global average is 44%, but this number is expected to rise further as most countries have a human rights concept stating that no one should be left behind or left out.
Now let's take a look at the currency exchange rates provided by Mongol Bank. Now let's take a look at the weather forecast of world's major cities. Well, that's all for today, and thank you for staying with us. We will see you tomorrow with more news and updates. Have a nice evening. Goodbye.